welcome to episode 2 of the Nothing But Facts podcast. I am your host, Chinadu Onyemaobi, a.k.a. The Real Nadu on all social media. Great to have you back here again. We have a great episode filled for you all to watch. Let's get right into it. We got a lot to discuss. Bang! Why do the Cowboys always lose to elite teams? I mean, it's very, very troubling as a Cowboys fan seeing what goes on the field. I'm going to use their most recent outing against the San Francisco 49ers, and that was completely inexcusable on every way you can think about it. This Dallas Cowboys team, they are so talented in terms of coaching, in terms of players, in terms of anything you can think out that an NFL team needs in order to be successful. The Dallas Cowboys have the resources to get it done. So when you look at a game in which you lose by 32 points on national television, you start to ask yourself some questions, and you might start to point some fingers. Who's in charge here? Who's the quarterback? Who's the D coordinator? Who's the OC? Who's the general manager? Those are some of the questions that you'll start to ask when you see your team lose by 32 points. I understand the 49ers are good. I understand they have one of the best coaching staffs in the entire NFL. But so do the Cowboys. The Cowboys have heavily invested so much into this coaching staff that in terms of talent-wise, in terms of schematics, in terms of putting your players in the best positions to win, the Cowboys coaching staff, I believe, they try to do that every single Sunday. It just hasn't been the case against elite teams. I talked about, pointing fingers and who do you blame? Well, do you blame the quarterback? Do you blame Ryan McCarthy? Do you blame the play calling? See, Dak really, and I really appreciate Dak. I think Dak is a really good quarterback. I think he can win a lot of games in this league. He's proven that, a great leader on and off the field. But there's a knock on Dak that a lot of people like to hammer on. It's his inability at some points to win the crucial games. Since 2016, Dak is 22-25 against teams that have a winning record. Now, that's not good. That's a losing record against winning teams. And I'm going to go to his most recent game. The most recent game we saw him against the 49ers, 14 of 24, 153 yards, and one passing touchdown to a member of your special teams unit. I want you to think about this Cowboys offense. I want you to think about the type of players they have. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks, Tony Pollard. And they were only able to score 10 points. Now to Ryan McCarthy. And I think from what we've seen from him, I don't know if Ryan McCarthy is the guy to take this team to the mountaintop. I use that word a lot. The mountaintop is, getting to a Super Bowl, winning a championship, being at the top of your highest of your peers. I don't know. I don't know if Ryan McCarthy is the guy. This offense is boring. The Cowboys offense is simply boring. I mean, you watch the game against the 49ers. You look at Kyle Shanahan's run game versus the run game of the Cowboys. The difference is clear. I mean, the difference is clear. Why can't the Cowboys offense move the same way that the 49ers offense does? They have the playmakers. They have the quarterback. They have the O-line. Then why is there such a gap in what we saw when the Cowboys played the 49ers? Jerry Jones is one of my favorite owners in the league. He's one of my favorite owners in all of sports. He's one of my I really appreciate the Dallas Cowboys brand. You're driving on, I think it's I-35, whatever in Dallas. You can literally see the star just shining on the highway. It's beautiful. I mean, he's done so much for this Cowboys, for this entire state of Texas. He's been to the mountaintop. He knows what it is to win 1, 2, 3 Super Bowls. He's had Michael Irvin. He's had Troy Aikman. He's had Emmitt Smith. He's had all of these Hall of Fame guys. And I think if he wants to feel that victory rush again, if he wants to get to the top of the league and show everyone he's still one of the greatest owners in this sport, he needs to really look himself in the mirror and ask himself, hey, does Ryan McCarthy give us the best shot to win a Super Bowl? That's the question. Is Ryan McCarthy the guy to take us to where we need to go? And I think we've seen that he hasn't been able to do that. There's going to be some changes coming, I believe, this offseason with the Dallas Cowboys, depending on how this thing plays out. But still, a lot of football to be played. Let's see what happens. Staying in the NFL, here are my top 3 teams so far. Teams, to me, I think, world ended today. I think you could split the Super Bowl with these teams. I think they're all really good. I think these teams have shown that even when the pressure gets going, they're still, on the elite level. Let's get right into it. Coming in at number 3, I got the Detroit Lions. I really like what head coach Dan Campbell is doing. I've been a big fan of him since last year. He has drafted the right guys. Him and Brad Holmes, their GM, they're on the same page in terms of what they want this football team to be. That's aggressive, physical, big, and nasty up front on your offensive and defensive line, and having athletes on the outside that can make plays. That is what they have shown. They continue to grow. They continue to get better. Jared Goff under Ben Johnson, I mean, he just looks like an MVP-level quarterback. I really like the Detroit Lions, and I'm really excited to see where this football team goes the rest of the way. Coming in at number 2, I got the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to say this right now. Brock Purdy's the real deal, man. Brock Purdy's legit, man. I heard everything. People say he's not. He hasn't played enough games. He's in a pass-friendly system. He's got Kyle Shanahan who could do all this. He has a great O-line. He has a defense. Brock Purdy can play. I mean, there's nothing else to me that shows he can't play. He does not lose the 49ers football games. He's undefeated as a starter. I need you to understand that again. Brock Purdy has yet to lose a football game with the San Francisco 49ers. That is how he has been playing. Okay, he literally elevates everyone around him. And we know what would have happened last year if he was playing in that NFC Championship game. He probably would have beat the Eagles on the road. But anyways, this defense is ridiculous. I think Nick Bosa is unblockable. I mean, Fred Warner is the best linebacker on the planet. Fred Warner is the best linebacker out of every person that plays linebacker in this. I don't care where you are, China, Japan, Russia, I don't care. Just throw on some Fred Warner tape and watch how he plays the position. That is how the position is supposed to be played. Just running downhill, just crazy, just fucking crazy. You know what? I'm just crazy. Like, Fred Warner's that dude. Coming in at number 1, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, they look a lot different from last year. Is it Jalen Carter? Is it Jalen Hurts after the payday? Is it A.J. Brown? Is it DeAndre Swift? The team looks different. They look like they're playing more aggressively. Like I said, Jalen Carter is unblockable. He has the highest pressure rate amongst rookie defensive linemen in the entire NFL. They continue to get better. They continue to show improvement. That defense they get better every game. I really like the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm a big Nick Sirianni fan. I think they have a test coming up against the New York Jets, my team. I want to see what happens. I want to see how they come into town. They might be looking over this game a little bit. What do the Eagles do? I think we're going to play our hardest game. I like Quinnen Williams. I like our pass rush. I like our defense. They haven't played a defense like us. Okay, the Eagles haven't played a defense like us, but I'll give the credit to the Eagles so far. They have been a good football team. Nick Sirianni is really, I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. He continues to make this football team go. Give me the Eagles at number 1. Moving on from the Sunday gridiron to the Saturday night lights, let's jump into my game of the week. Number 8, Oregon versus number 7, Washington. This is going to be a prime time game. I really like Washington. I like what they do offensively. I like Michael Penix Jr. They make you pay attention to everything they're doing. I mean, they the way that offense moves, I'm going to say it reminds me similar that of a Joe Brady-esque offense. It's unstoppable. I don't think there's a defense right now in college football that can stop Washington's offense. Let's talk about Michael Penix Jr., who a lot of people believe he can fully win the Heisman Trophy. He'll be the second Pac-12 quarterback back-to-back to ever do that, if that ever happens. Number 1 in the country on passing touchdowns of 35 or more yards. Thank you, PFF. He's the most efficient quarterback in the country on play-action pass. Thank you, PFF. He can do it all. You just watch the tape. He doesn't get touched. He has receivers just running wide open, and he puts it on the money. I mean, I really enjoy watching Michael Penix Jr. play quarterback. Now let's talk about this game. I know I glorified, Washington, and I gave them their proper prep. Let's talk about this game, okay? Oregon is not new kids on the block. All right? They're coming to Seattle with bad intentions. They want to win this game. They fully believe that they are one of the top 4 teams in the country. And this game certainly shows everyone in the entire country whether or not this team is legit or not. Okay? They have to start very, very fast. That's simply what it is. Oregon, Bo Nix, they need to start fast. This Washington defense is a top 100 defense. So, I mean, when you see things like that, that kind of scares you in terms of, okay, can Oregon move the ball down the field? They're going to move the ball down the field. All right. It's not a question about whether or not Oregon can move the ball down the field. They will move the ball down the field. I like to call Oregon SEC Pacific just because of the depth that they have on D-line. I think they've done a phenomenal job in the transfer portal. Whether it was getting a guy like Jordan Birch, who is he's a freaking animal. I mean, he was an animal at South Carolina. Whether it's growing guys like Brandon Dorless, who has shown he's one of the better defensive D tackles in the country. Oregon is not to be played with. This is a legit team. For both teams, at the end of the day, this is going to come down to who is going to be the more physical group. All right. Like I said before, Michael Penix Jr., he has not been touched this year. He's been sacked 3 times up to this point. Okay. They've played 5 games. He's only been sacked 3 times. Oregon has a very deep and aggressive D-line. They're going to get after the quarterback. What side of the ball wants it the most? All right, let's talk about some of the playmakers we have in this game. Let's start first with Washington wide receiver Rome Odunze. He is the most slept-on wide receiver in the country. He can do it all. How does he stand up against Kyrie Jackson, Oregon's corner? Very aggressive, very long. He can do it all, shut down, very good against the run. He has a bunch of tackles for losses. I think for Oregon, like I said before, they got to start fast. They have to start fast. The last 2 games against Stanford and against Colorado, they probably were sleeping a little bit. They're like, yeah, we got better teams to play. But they have to start fast against Washington. This isn't Hawaii, okay? This is a different team. For Oregon, I've talked about Michael Penix. I've talked about, their playmakers. Oregon's got a quarterback himself. Oregon's got Bo Nix, who has been in these type of games before. The most important question I think we have to ask ourselves before we watch this game, which type of Bo Nix are we getting on Saturday afternoon? Because the numbers say it all. Bo Nix against top 10 opponents, 0-6 on the road, 2 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I mean, that's what that's what I see. That's the facts. He's 0-6 on the road against top 10 opponents. This is another top 10 opponent. Prime time, college game day. All the eyes are watching. I'll be watching. I'm going to be watching. What is going to be of the Oregon Ducks in the hostile environment? I think Oregon's going to have to lean on this run game. This run game has shown that they can be really good, very physical. Bucky Irving is one of the best backs in the Pac-12. They like to pound that rock. And I best believe I'm going to see, we're all going to see that when they play Washington. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be a fun game to watch, sort of 2 contrasting styles, physicality and glitz and glamour and just eye candy and all these things that make college football just the sport we love. So I wish I could be there. I was about to say I'll be there, but no, I won't be there. But I think it'll be a great game, for college football and to really see who are some of the top teams in the country. Here are my list of my top 4 teams right now in college football. I know, look, everyone's going to probably give me heat for this. That's fine. I know I watch these games. I sit at home on Saturday. Actually, let's start from Thursday. Let's start from now. They got, college football on Tuesday. So, I'll sit Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I watch football 7 days a week, so I know what I'm talking about. Let's talk the top 4 teams in the country. Starting off with number 4, we have my Florida State Seminoles trending in the right direction. I think the bye week, gave them a little bit of rest for them to just get better on page, get them healthier, get them more sharper. I think the game against Virginia Tech, that was a little bit shaky. Second half, they came together and put together a complete second half. I think Trey Benson is one of the best running backs in college football. He absolutely needs to be on the Doak Walker finalist list. I mean, he can do it all. Catching, running, blocking. I think he is now going to be undeniably RB1 at Florida State. Jordan Travis continues to ball, continues to make plays. Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson. This offense is crazy. Jaheim Bell. Give me Florida State at number 4. At number 3, I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs. Go Dogs. Man, Carson Beck has really grown on me. I think he's literally gotten better each and every game. 1,800 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think the game against Kentucky really showed that, look, this guy can make a lot of throws. He has a very high quarterback IQ. Brock Bowers is a beast, simple. I mean, there's no question that he's the greatest offensive weapon in college football right now. Blocking, receiving, whatever you want him to do. He can run jet sweeps. He can come out the backfield. He is the ultimate weapon X for Georgia, and this defense is just playing ridiculous. Kirby Smart, I mean, it's like he just plugs and plays guys, 5-star, 6-star, 8-star. He just plugs and plays these guys, and they just make plays all over the field. I think Georgia has really grown on me this year in a weird way. I don't know why I'm like, I've just been watching Georgia. I've been watching Georgia. They've been really doing their thing, and I think they're going to continue to get better, continue to grow. These next couple of weeks are going to be really – I think I'm going to pay attention for sure now how this football team responds. Missouri, Florida, Tennessee coming up, Ole Miss coming up. This is going to get a little bit different now. This Georgia Bulldogs team, are they going to start separating from other teams and, be a part of that equation at the end of the year? We'll see. Number 2, I'm going with Washington. I just talked about Michael Penix Jr. This Washington offense is just absolutely ridiculous. They can score any which way they want. Romo Dunze, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, Raekwon. They are just all nasty. They can score all over the field. Ryan Grubb, I will continue to say this, he is the second best play caller in college football. This receiver core, like I said, is just ridiculous. They have shown me, I think, they are worthy of the number 2 team in college football. A lot of people are going to look at me sideways. I'm really, really high on this Washington team. The test, again, is going to be against Oregon. What football team are we going to get from Washington? Are we going to get the same football team that has been scoring every which way they want? Or is Oregon going to slow them down and bring them back to earth, bring them down to earth? I want to say back to earth. Will Oregon bring them down to earth? We'll see what happens. And coming in at number 1, a lot of people are going to definitely look at me crazy for this one. But I got the Oklahoma Sooners. I got the Sooners at number 1. Beating Texas, a team that beat Alabama by 10 points on the road, that tells me something. That tells me you have talent in the locker room. That tells me you have guys in the locker room that truly and fully believe that they are really good. Brent Venables, I think Oklahoma, from the time they made this hire, I think I instantly thought to Brent Venables when he used to coach, when he used to be the assistant defensive coordinator at Oklahoma with Bob Stoops. I said, oh, my God, like those defenses were disgusting. He's bringing in that same vibe. He's bringing in that same type of energy that we used to see from those Oklahoma teams back in the early 2010s. So I really like Oklahoma. I think Dylan Gabriel, man, he is electrifying. He had the most rushing yards as a quarterback in the entire history of the Red River rivalry. He can do it with his arms. He can do it with his legs. He is an NFL quarterback. Simple. There's nothing else to say that. He's an NFL quarterback. And we're going to see again how this Oklahoma football team, how do they get better over the season? Because there is no doubt in my mind, they have a very, very good shot at playing Texas again in the Big 12 championship. That is something that the Big 12 can't do because the Big 12 does not have divisions. The top 2 teams at the end of the year with the best records are the ones that play in the conference championship. So Oklahoma got their lick back from last year, but Texas can definitely get the ultimate lick back in the Big 12 championship. But for now, Oklahoma, number 1 team, fully deserved. Great win in the Red River rivalry. Let's see how far this team can continue to go. Going right into the NBA, big trade came out very, very recently. Dame Dollar, a.k.a. Damian Lillard, is now a part of the Milwaukee Bucks. He finally gets what he wanted. He's been talking about how he wants to go to Miami. He's now part of the Bucks. And I'll say this, man. I'll be sick if I wanted to go to Miami. I've been telling everyone I want to play in South Beach, and I end up in Wisconsin. I mean, God damn, I'll be so sick. Like, what are you doing in Milwaukee? Like, what is there to do in Milwaukee? What do they even like? I've never been to Wisconsin. Not to say I don't have aspirations of going to Wisconsin, but I probably don't. But it's like, what do you do in Milwaukee? But anyways, his dream is over of playing in Miami. He's now a part of the Milwaukee Bucks. And I think there's no question about whether or not this team upgraded. They upgraded. Okay, they have a dynamic scorer in Damian Lillard, a guy who is one of the most efficient scorers in the entire NBA. He can do it all, a great leader, a great locker room guy, and I really think this helps them out in the long run. I understand they took a little bit of a loss when they got rid of Drew Holiday. I fully understand how much that puts them sort of in a defensive compromise in some situations, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I think the Bucks are good enough for them to overcome those defensive efficiencies with Damian Lillard. Now, I want to talk about how this Bucks team goes against the other elite teams in the East. Let's talk about them going against the Miami Heat. Well, for what it's worth, we've pretty much saw, I think, the highest maximum potential of the Miami Heat. Ask yourself, do you honestly think the Miami Heat are good enough to get to the NBA Finals again? Do they have the firepower that is needed to get to the promised land again? And I get it. You know, they were a great defensive team. They did a lot of great things last year, but it's just, I don't think they have enough offense. They don't have enough offense to overcome the Milwaukee Bucks. For Philly, they have a lot of things going on with James Harden. Does he want to be a part of the franchise? Is he happy with Daryl Morey? Is he going to work with Nick Nurse? How is that going to play out? There's a lot of things moving for the Philadelphia 76ers, excuse me. How do the Bucks match up against them in the best of 7? I like the Bucks in that matchup. Now you start looking at some other teams. You look at the Boston Celtics, who I think to me have had a very pretty interesting offseason. They got rid of Marcus Smart. They acquired Drew Holiday. They got Kristaps Porzingis. It's a new feel in Boston. I think there's a new breed of hope, a fresh oxygen, like something different. Something different is on the horizon. They have a really interesting lineup with Kristaps and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It's going to be very interesting to see how this works out for the Celtics, but I think it's more interesting to see how do the Bucks match up with the Celtics. I'll take the Celtics over the Bucks in that matchup. I think the Celtics could pull that off in 7 games. Let's talk about the Knicks. My New York Knicks, a team that I believe is going to compete this year. I think, RJ is going to come back a little bit better. He's going to be more aggressive offensively. I like the pickup in Ryan Arcidiacono. I think he gives us that, perimeter offense that is needed in order to keep up with these elite level teams. So can the Knicks match up with the Bucks? You damn right I believe the Knicks can match up with the Bucks. Why not? Why not? They can match up with the Bucks. So, I think, when you look at those elite teams, and people are like, well, the Knicks are not elite. Well, they're elite to me. All right. So if you look at those teams, how do the Bucks match up against them? I think the Bucks are, they're favored in probably two or three of these matchups probably against the Knicks, depending on how we wake up that day. I think the real question for the Bucks, I think there's 3 things. There's 3 setbacks we got to think about for the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the setback number 1 is contractually. They have 3 guys who are making top dollar. Chris Middleton, 3 years, $93 million. Dame is 2 years into a $176 million extension. Giannis has 3 years left on his $200 million deal. He'll be making 45.6 this year. That goes to $48 million in 2024. So they're like in a bind contractually. They're in a weird place contractually. Are they going to be able to expand on this roster if, God forbid, one of these superstar players get hurt? Second thing I think is age. Dame is 33. Brook Lopez is 35. Chris Middleton is 32. Age is 100% going to be a factor whether or not this team is successful. Jaylen Brown is young. Jason Tatum is young. RJ Barrett is young. How do they match up against those teams? And lastly, I think it's going to be coaching. It's Adrian Griffin, the right guy in this locker room. Is he going to be that right voice to take this team where it needs to go? There's no question. It's different when you're an assistant. You know, when you've been a successful assistant, it's different when you've been an assistant, you've been successful, you got guys giving you praises, you're doing all these interviews, and now you got to really coach these dudes. Now you have to coach Giannis. Now you have to coach Dame. Now you have to coach Chris Middleton in a 3-point game on the road against the Thunder. And you're losing with one timeout left. You have the ball. You got to draw up those plays now, AG. So I think there are 3 setbacks potentially for this Milwaukee Bucks team. But if they stay healthy, if Adrian Griffin can get the best out of this group, there is no doubt in my mind the Bucks can get to the NBA Finals. Not a single doubt. With this trio of players, with this trio of talent, the Bucks are going to be very, very dangerous if all of this can play out exactly how they want to. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Nothing But Facts podcast. I appreciate you for watching and tuning into the show today. Make sure you follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. That is Nothing But Facts Pod. I'll see you again. Take care. Love y'all.